It is officially 3:33, which just means we started this panel 3 minutes late, but that was because we were busy having pie.
And cherry pie.
And sharing pie.
There's drinks in here too.
Ari, are you gonna sit by us?
I want to start by thanking you all for coming to the last panel of CONvergence 2025. We made it almost. We still have this and closing ceremony. But
Ari, we have forks up here too.
I have a fork.
Okay.
I stole a fork for myself from my own stash.
But it is worth a 5-minute delay for pie. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. And if you want to complain on the surveys, that is your right, and I will still defend. I will always start a panel 5 minutes late if that means I get pie. Or a sandwich. All right, so hopefully you are here to hear / potentially partake in a lively debate about what does or does not qualify as a sandwich.
Yes.
The original debate dated back to a New York Times, I think it was New York Times, but to a question that was posed in some publication in New York that was about whether or not a hot dog was a sandwich. And it led to a lively debate. I mean, it blew up the internet, and everyone seemed to have their own take on it. And it got broken down to molecular levels, it got broken down to historical proof, it had broken down to, would the Earl of Sandwich say it was a sandwich? New Yorkers spoke and said that yes, a hot dog was a sandwich, but I'm going to pose this to my lovely panelists here. Can you please, 1, introduce yourself, and 2, at least start with a fundamental or initial point of contention, which is, do you believe hot dog is a sandwich?
Hi, my name is Randee, and I am a New Yorker, and therefore I overrule everybody in this room. Come at me. I'm an author and I'm a journalist, and for me the basic amount is you have to define what you mean, what constitutes sandwich. And I don't know if you all have been to the webpage that is CONvergence, which focuses on the starch element. And I will get into that more, but if you're going to define a sandwich, you know, if you're starting with the starch element, that will define it. And the cube rule is great because it actually breaks it down into, you know, is something a taco rather than a sandwich? You know, so it's not just about the definition of a sandwich. This does not have to be everybody's Bible. It's kind of my Bible, but this is how we are. And yeah, so let's start with that.
So, but you mean that, so you agree with the rest of New York that hot dog is a sandwich?
I believe that a hot dog is a sandwich.
Oh.
I am Tony Harmelink, computer geek and general doer of things. I've been having this debate for years and years. There's video of me doing it at a conference, a tech conference, actually, on stage. So that was fun. I believe that a hot dog is not a sandwich due to the structure of it. It is actually a taco. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I am a cube rule purist and a structured purist, where it is the structure itself that defines more so than the ingredients. I'm really flexible.
I can be flexible on that too, actually. I mean, the taco, when you start entering the other areas of things and you bring in the taco potentiality, yeah, I can go with the taco potentiality. I think it depends if you have, it's once again, it goes back to the starch. If you break, if somehow accidentally the bread or the hot dog breaks,
Yes.
you now have one on top and one on bottom,
Then it becomes a
sandwich.
Yes.
Together and joined, as God created it, taco.
So does the same thing apply to a taco? If the taco shell breaks, and so now you've got a top and a bottom, then the taco becomes a sandwich?
Yes, it does.
It's either a broken taco or a newly created sandwich.
And we also have to go back to the original New York part, because the New York ruling was because of taxes. They
Yes.
wanted to be able to tax the hot dog stalls, the hot dog vendors on the street. So they determined them to be sandwiches so they could collect them with the same tax they do for all the bodega sandwiches.
Yeah,
So it's not just, the idea of what is a sandwich. They want the money.
Yeah, the tax rule, which is on the CONvergence.com page, says that these things are sandwiches, right? Oh, these are the things that can be taxed. Like the bulletin explains what is considered a sandwich for tax purposes. Yeah, gyros, hamburgers on buns, rolls, etc. Heroes, hoagies, torpedoes, grinders, submarines, and other such sandwiches. I love how like the idea is we're defining it as a sandwich if it's already a sandwich.
Right.
Hot dogs and sausages on buns, rolls, etc. Melt sandwiches, open-faced sandwiches or sandwiches, panini sandwiches, Reuben sandwiches, and wraps and pita sandwiches. Those are all considered legally taxable sandwiches in New York State. But there was just.
I see a hand in the audience.
Not to digress, but gyros are clearly much more like tacos than they are like sandwiches. And,
Well, the cube rule that breaks it down further. It's not necessarily agreeing with that particular legal definition.
This is just what they're gonna say. If you're gonna sell it, then you've gotta pay it. Now, what I'm curious is, what if somebody orders like a hot dog without the bun? Do they still need to pay taxes?
Good question. Not everybody, people who are gluten intolerant, maybe should be tax exempt in this area.
Blue circle.
On phone.
The legal definition of sandwich breaks down when you know that other definitional parts of it break down too, such as bees counting as fish in Canada.
Bees count as fish.
Yes.
In Canada.
Yes.
Well, oh well, so much for that immigration.
For the purpose of taxes and stuff like that, to get around certain other laws.
I think it depends also, a lot of this stuff is, what are you defining it for? What is your purposes in this area? And where do you consider to be the bedrock of the definition? And, there may be definitions that are out there that don't require the starch to be the main component. Maybe it's the meat. So, which is a whole different conversation. So I think coming up with a basic definition of where you begin the definition is where to start.
Okay, so I see a couple of these up and we'll come back to them, but that comment about the starch. There's one thing that I saw an ad for once upon a time, several years ago, that I know a lot of people would still classify it as a sandwich, and they still call it a sandwich, and that was the KFC Double Down sandwich, where the bread was chicken breasts. And then in the middle, it was like bacon and cheese, but like the sandwich part was actually protein.
But was the chicken breaded?
You could get it grilled or their original recipes.
Because if it is breaded, you've now introduced bread to the
Bread, you introduce breading.
breading,
Or if we broaden it, it is the starch.
right, back to a starch again.
But what if they got the grilled version then? Does that change it?
That is no longer a sandwich.
That's just a
No,
meat.
it's a stack of meat and vegetables, AKA a stew.
So we're
Vegetables
saying
there,
lettuce wraps aren't sandwiches?
not starch.
No. That's if you're going to the starch, you must have a starch and a sandwich, right? Like a lettuce wrap certainly, it imitates a sandwich. It is a good imitation of a sandwich, but it is, in my opinion, it's not a sandwich.
What about, so the starch theory is it has to have a starch. But then does the starch need to be on the top and the bottom in order for it to classify as a sandwich?
Correct. You must have 4 open sides, according to the cube rule.
So the cube rule, right? That's where we're going with this.
Yes.
Is the cube rule. Depending on how many, so in the cube rule, just very basically, if I may, one side is toast. 2 sides is sandwich. 3 sides, and now I run out of hands, is taco, right? Taco. Sushi is 4 sides. If you have 5 sides, it's a soup salad with bread bowl.
Because I can be tilted.
And if you have all 6 sides, calzone. Everything fits into one of those categories based on.
That would have been a beautiful picture. There's somebody here snapping pictures of all 3 of them.
You guys broke free to lose. I was about to stand a picture.
Oh, recreation.
Do one for
You have so many questions out
So
there.
many questions.
All right, orange circle, I saw you from before.
So, well, I was initially going to ask why a taco isn't a sandwich. You kind of explained that, except I guess I'm not buying the cube rule in that I feel like all of those things basically are sandwiches. They are some filling surrounded in some manner by some sort of bread.
But not all of them are surrounded, right? Like toast is not surrounded. Like if something is
But
defined as a
if
toast.
it's named an open-faced sandwich, then by definition, it's a sandwich, because that's in its name.
In
So
New York
that's a
City.
pizza.
Right, pizza. Pizza is toast.
Pizza is an open face sandwich or toast or
But
anything like
nobody
that.
calls pizza
It's a pie.
But,
a
sure.
But there are more than one.
Whereas a calzone, which is essentially a folded over pizza,
Is
So-
joined on all sides.
So would if I was to take a chunk out of the middle of a pie, it would be a sandwich, but according to the cube rule, if I took a slice that's on 3 sides, it's whatever the 3 side one is, taco? Is that?
Yeah,
that-
assuming that your pie has a top on it, like the
Yeah.
pie that we are currently enjoying in this room
It's just,
is toast.
Yep.
Okay, but if you put the lid on it like an apple pie, then it becomes calzone.
But if the pie is fully constructed in the tin, it has more sides than the soup.
Well, it doesn't adhere to a cube rule, but it could be created in a cube shape, in which case we are now going into the size of the shape of things.
Just
Yeah,
because
if
the
it
walls
has
are slanted
angled
doesn't
sides.
mean it doesn't.
You know, to me, like cube is a loose idea. You know, if you have a piece of, like a Scotch egg,
Yes.
which
That's
has
helpful.
crumbs all
Onigiri?
over it. You know, it's round, it's not a calzone shape, but it is a calzone.
Now, here's the thing. A toast sandwich, which is a British thing, you know, post-World War II food, which is a piece of toast that is toasted, salted, buttered, with 2 untoasted pieces of bread on either side of it.
Mhm.
It is purely bread. Still a sandwich?
Yep.
so it's a piece of toast encapsulated with 2 untoasted pieces of bread.
Which is actually a chaos I have not heard of before. That is not news to me, and I'm an Anglophile. so
That's a real food.
Is musubi toast?
Is oh, say again?
It's a slab of rice with a piece of stuff on top.
That's toast. Because
But
it's
it's
starch,
not
right?
toasted.
It doesn't have to be toasted. You
No,
just-
no, it doesn't have to be toasted. Toasted is a state of mind.
It really is.
Fair, the double entendre there is much appreciated. Orange star, please.
I would like to note that by your definition, a sub-sandwich is in fact a taco.
Correct.
Because
Yes.
it's on side closed.
Unless-
Until the back breaks.
Right,
Which, you know, you get a
until-
soggy one, the back breaks, then it's a sandwich.
And additionally, your chicken sandwich idea, I believe would be considered a sandwich because it is one piece of chicken sandwiched between 2 others.
As long as the chicken on the outside is breaded, if it's grilled, it no longer becomes a sandwich due to the lack of starch.
Just becomes a stack of meat.
I think the important part here is that it's 1 or more ingredients sandwiched between 2 ingredients. The word sandwich is key.
So does that mean lasagna is a sandwich?
Is an orange because of the color or the
okay.
tree?
I would say technically, based on the starch rule, that
Tree.
lasagna would be a sandwich.
Tree first.
I also feel that a sandwich requires your hands. If you need to be able to pick it up and eat it in its constituted fashion. And then, like that is an element. So to me, like if you try to pick up a piece of lasagna with your hands, it no longer is a piece of lasagna, it is a mess. Right? And it's not a sandwich either because it is just a mess all over your hands.
But you can deep fry lasagna and then eat it.
Okay, so it's deep fried, maybe then we have another discussion to have with that, right? Like, then it becomes, perhaps it's more like sushi or something, I don't know, we can
You don't
discover it
have
all.
to
Sometimes
slice it
it
on
comes
the top
because
and
you gotta
thick,
coat it.
you can hold it on. It's like it's their hands though.
And you can just throw a piece of lasagna in a deep fry. I wouldn't recommend it, probably explode, but
Sure.
you try
You
to.
can
Yeah, I mean,
also
but-
not put sauce on the bottom, not put sauce on the top, and then make your filling thing.
But I think if you can't pick that up with your hand once it's fully cooked,
Yes.
which, like, you literally could pick it up with your hand, but it would just go moosh all
No,
over the
it
place.
wouldn't. Have you ever seen it after the starches have polymerized and it can't flow anymore? You can pick up lasagna.
So the lasagna on the top and the bottom would be sort of solidified.
Yeah, well, in the middle it would be solidified. That's what happens when you polymerize starches.
Right, but the top and the bottom would also be solidified?
They're just lasagna.
But if I have an Italian beef sandwich that
Lasagna
has
is
been
new-
put in the
lasagna.
gravy so much
Giant.
that it's falling apart.
Yes,
You know, you hold it until it's no longer breathing,
yeah.
and then you try and pick that up, it's gonna fall apart.
Right, like I'm thinking of the turkey dinner, like on the leftovers for turkey.
Oh,
where you
yeah,
make
yeah.
like you might be able to make a sandwich out of your leftover turkey, but if you put gravy all over it so much that it falls apart, not really a sandwich anymore, because I feel like in my definition, you have to be able to pick it up with the hand and hold it.
That's a good wrinkle to have, yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you discount a failed thing as not that thing?
Well,
It's not a failed thing, it's that the structural integrity of it has changed to the point where it's become something else.
that's a good answer, yes.
Orange X.
Okay, so I had kind of two parts. I'm imagining like two croutons with like lettuce in the middle is a sandwich based on what I'm hearing. And then I'm wondering, like, if I've got a taco shell, like how many breaks does it have before it becomes a taco salad?
Can you pick it up with your hands?
Yeah, I mean, I can still.
But I mean, if like
if
it's
I
100
bite it, it starts to break, and then like, at what point is it no, like, once I have to stick a fork in it, that's when
Yes.
I'm now I have.
Yeah,
to
when you're no
salad.
longer eating it hand to mouth, and it's falling apart
So
into
if
so many
I'm
pieces, then you
holding
got
it
salad.
together as best I can, it's still a taco.
Yeah, that's my take.
So,
Over sandwich.
I think it would be a taco, and then once it cracked in one, so long as there's a two-sided starch that you are ingesting, then that would be considered a sandwich. If it broke again to the point where it's now not just two pieces of starch, then that's when it stops becoming a sandwich.
Yeah, at some point, you have a tortilla chip or a tortilla with some stuff on top of it, then it's toast.
Right, it's toast. Okay, so it's multi pieces of toast together. Toast salad.
Yeah,
Toast being the definition of just, it's a starch with stuff on it.
Yeah, the idea is that this is, although it's not fluid, a very fluid thing that is happening to
Yes.
the construction that you are eating.
Food changes as you eat it.
Does it? You mean it's not like a full piece of pie that just reassembles in my tummy?
Shocking.
Orange outside and back.
Going back to KFC. So you have the chicken that's breaded.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be a calzone? And then you have a
As its
sandwich, so
own
it's
thing.
like a calzone sandwich?
As its own thing, it's taken on its own, sure. Yeah.
So if you use two calzones and you had stuff in the middle, the whole thing would be a sandwich, but if you just took the top off and ate it, then it would just be a calzone.
A cordon bleu.
So fried chicken is a calzone.
Yes.
As long as it's fully breaded.
Yes.
Are we approaching the no true Scotsman fallacy here through creating differences without distinction?
No true sandwich styles, Elsie?
Is this all peer reviewed?
I think we're reviewing it right now.
We're submitting all this to the Mayo
We
Clinic.
are peers.
Yeah.
So you just ignore the calzone aspect once you take it into a sandwich?
Yeah, I think you can. Because if you have, like, let's say you had a turkey sandwich, right? Bread, turkey, maybe lettuce. And you take a piece of bread off. Bread by itself is no longer a sandwich, right?
Right.
It's toast.
Or you
So-
have
Unless you butter one side.
the situation where you have two grilled cheese and you put a burger in between it and you have grilled cheese burger. It just becomes its own thing. It's one, if you can bite it, that's what you're describing, right? Because you can deconstruct that, reconstruct that numerous times and it's still sandwich-ish.
Yeah. I'm with that.
Orange circle.
If you stack 3 pickles on top of each other, would it count as a sandwich?
If you said pickles, right?
Yeah.
No, because there's no starch involved. It's just a stack of the same thing. Like we were talking about the stack of chicken and chicken and chicken. A
Yep.
stack of meat or a stack of pickles. The stack of the same food, basically the same exact food in some cases, to me is not a sandwich.
What if you put a
Unless
different
it's
kind
all
of
starch.
What if you put a pickle
Yeah, well,
in
that's
between 2 French fries?
It's the starch and substance.
Start.
That's starch, right? A pickle between 2 French fries.
That's a sandwich.
That sounds like a barbecue craving.
Yes, I would take that as a sandwich.
What if the top pickle and the bottom pickle are fried?
With
If they're
butter.
breaded, if they're battered and fried,
Sandwich.
that would become a sandwich.
Yeah, definitely.
The frickle is a calzone.
Yeah. Also, the sandwich, the pickles might be made of, if you can't pick it up with your hands, also, it develops.
The yellow star here.
So, in our American culture, we do typically use things like you mentioned. In other cultures, such as my brother-in-law's from India, a lot of the time when eating at their house, you tear off a piece of like a roti or chapati and you scoop it up. Does that make it a sandwich? What is your take on what you formulate that?
That makes it a taco. Because you probably have 3 sides of it, right? The part that's in your
Right.
hand and then the side parts.
Oh,
So
You can
that's a
do
taco.
that with
I'm
any
so
of
excited.
those.
Or if you scooped it up like that, but then you flattened out before you ate it, then it would be
Then it's toast.
toast.
Right.
But if
Perfect, I cannot wait to tell my brother-in-law this.
you're like, I was at a very official panel and they
He will
broke.
probably tell me that I'm full of shit.
And the room has peer reviewed this.
Exactly.
And we have evidentiary support in the cubism,
Cubism?
not cube,
Cube rule.
cube rule, thank you, cube
Yeah,
rule.
so,
Curry
you know,
toast.
one area we have not touched on at all is what is a quiche. All right, so in the cube rule thing, and again, this is not peer reviewed, this is just what we are perhaps talking about. There are 6 examples of things that are quiches, which is a 5-sided starch item. And they include cheesecake, soup in a bread bowl, falafel pita, deep dish pizza, no longer toast, salad in a bread bowl, and a key lime pie. Those are some examples of quiche.
So all pie would be quiche.
All
No.
uncut pie
All
Without
uncooked
the
pie.
top crust.
without the top crust.
Yes.
Yes.
But isn't a key part of quiche eggs?
Well, they're not, apparently not in this case, again, these words are being used, these familiar words that we all think we know what they mean, are being used to encapsulate a phylum or a genre.
Yes,
a
it's a
genus.
broad
Cube is
category.
purely defining the starch.
Because like
Yes.
a single
Yeah.
layer could be toast, it could be tortilla, it could be roti, naan, whatever. Just a single layer. We call it toast for a definition.
Right, and another example of some calzones are burrito,
Yes.
Yeah.
corn dog, pie that is covered, dumplings, Pop-Tarts, and Uncrustables. There are additional cube rulings which we can get into later that deal with salad, cake, nachos, and muffins. So we can get into that.
I see a lot of these up, but I do have a quick question I want to pose to these panelists. Does the ingredients or type of starch affect whether or not it's a sandwich? I.e., what about things like Oreo cookies? They are an Oreo cookie sandwich. Do
They
you
call
agree with
themselves
that?
they call themselves a sandwich cookie.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's
They do.
necessarily a sandwich, but the top cookie is a starch, yes?
Yes.
Does he start yet?
Yes.
I would rule that as a sandwich.
I would agree.
What about sandwich flavored other things? Do you still classify those as sandwich? So I think of like peanut butter and jelly soda or Cuban sandwich flavored potato chips.
No starch in soda, so I would not go with that.
A single potato chip could be classified as a
Since they're made
toast.
from latex starches.
Does it require a
It is-
topping?
Yeah, you know, it's a single ingredient thing,
If we have 3 potato chips,
yeah.
then it's a sandwich. Because we have a top, a bottom, and a center.
But then we have to return to the pickle on top of the pickle on top of the pickle, that is not a sandwich, it's just 3 things on top of each other.
That's because there was no starch.
Ingredient here is.
Well, I guess did we determine earlier that the very weird British toast in the middle of not toast is a sandwich?
I believe we did classify that as a sandwich.
Okay, but that is one different thing in the middle of 2 different things.
Now, they are in different states. Does that state matter? Because the centerpiece is toasted and the 2 outer were not.
Well, if you could take 2 pieces of ice and put steam in the middle of them, would you consider that a sandwich? No, because no starch. But I mean, I'm just thinking like the state may make a difference.
If you somehow have flour and then you put, I don't know, a slice of cheese and then put more just raw flour on top of it, to me that is no longer a sandwich.
Can't pick it up with
because
your hands.
Yeah.
You can't pick it up with your hands, and the starch is not in an edible state.
Yeah. I would say that you need to have something that's different in the middle than the 2 things on the end. And when we toast the thing in the middle, and when it comes to bread, and put 2 plain pieces of bread,
Yes.
different things.
It transforms.
If you take one flavor of Pringle chip between 2 other flavors of Pringle chip, I think you're getting in the direction of sandwich, but I still don't know if you've reached the full destination.
You're making a culinary decision at that point. You're not just grabbing something out of the bag, right?
Right, that's true. There's a preparation involved. Assuming, though, that it's not just a mix of chips that you've reached your hand in and somehow made a sandwich, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, I think it's very peripheral sandwich area that we're getting into.
I would agree. It's an edge case.
Yeah.
Holy sandwich minutia is all I'm going to say. I love the passion for my fellow panelists there. I'm truly appreciating that. All right, let's go back to some of these questions. Let's do the blue pound sign here, and then we'll come to the blue pound sign over here.
So I personally am a sandwich anarchist, but I am curious on your take of, does it have to be completely edible? For example, if you're using like 2 of those compostable spoons made with like corn base and use that to like scoop up something from a bowl, so now you have food in the middle but 2 like
Starches?
does that count as a sandwich?
Are you planning on eating the spoons?
You probably aren't eating the spoons, but it is a starch.
You can.
And there's also those packing peanuts that are made out of corn. You can melt them in
exactly.
That counts as.
Does it have to be an edible starch?
Right, so I think that if you're not planning on eating the parts on the edges, like, but you could eat them if you wanted to, it's a Schrodinger sandwich. But you will make the decision once you eat or don't eat.
Okay.
I was gonna say, but no, I think that's a good call out though. I personally would have to fall into I think it has to be edible. Because otherwise, then we just dissolve into anarchy because there's a lot of things that have starch in it that we aren't aware of or fully able to know.
Or we even consider something we would eat.
Right, and you brought up earlier, if you took cheese but had flour on both sides, that's technically 2 starches, but that flour is not edible at that point in time. That would not qualify as a sandwich.
If you deep fry the cheese, like a mozzarella stick, 100%. Well, that's a calzone. Sorry, that's a calzone in that case because it covers around.
If you pull that, it's not.
Okay.
Purple, or sorry, blue palm side over here.
Yeah. So you mentioned that thing with 4 sides of starch around it is a sushi. However, a lot of sushi has a layer of seaweed surrounding it. So my question is it still a sandwich if the starch is not on the outermost layer?
So according to the cube rule, nigiri sushi is toast.
Well, yeah, that's.
So just because something actually is sushi doesn't mean it's sushi. Just to completely
We're talking about a bowl.
But mind here.
We're talking about a sushi bowl.
Well, what he's talking about is sushi is because the rice surrounds the stuff on 4 sides, but then
there's
seaweed is on the outside of that.
Right.
So what I think they're hypothesizing is, what if we did cheese crusted grilled cheese? So like it's cheese and then bread, and then cheese and then bread and then cheese on the outside. So cheese is the outer layer.
Right.
But then there's a middle layer of starch and then another inner layer of dairy.
Can you eat this with your hands?
Yes.
Yes.
I think because the starch is not the framework, it's not the structure, I don't know that it necessarily is a traditional sandwich.
It's a club sandwich.
Well, that's got bread though.
It's got bread.
Right.
Multiple layers. So
But
it's
we're
not-
talking about like
The absolute top and bottom are still starch, but in the grilled cheese or the
Yeah, so
sushi
you can
example,
smother
it's
it
not
all in.
pure starch on the exterior. So does the exterior have to be edible starch to qualify?
Is a smothered sandwich not a sandwich?
Yeah, they're called.
It's smothered in what?
Anything.
It has been transformed.
Are
Yeah.
you saying it's not a sandwich though? So an open-faced sandwich with a gravy on top is no longer a sandwich.
Is there gravy on the bottom?
I mean, it's on a plate, it stays.
It might be just toast, is what I'm
It
saying.
was a sandwich before it was smothered, because at that point you can't pick it up and eat it.
There you go.
Then what is it now?
But we're going back to this because I used to do this all the time, which is where you literally like coat the outside of the bread in cheese, and then you put fillings in the middle and you make a sandwich this way. I personally would qualify that as a sandwich because while there's a coating around it, just like the seaweed wrap around it, the bulk of the structure of that is the starch.
I mean, you have to put butter on
Yeah.
But
the
if
cheese to grill
the
it.
cheese is on the outside, are you gonna pick it up in your hand?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like cheese crusted. Think about like, it's not like tons of cheese, it's like a
A solid wall of cheese.
yes. How like people make like cheese crisps?
I don't know. That's a really tricky one.
Can something exist as a sandwich wrapped in something?
That's essentially the question is,
Can you add a qualifier to a sandwich?
I think the thing is, something can have a sandwich interior but still not be a sandwich. You know, if I take, okay, let's say I take an Oreo, and for some reason, I surround it in ground beef. and deep fry that sucker. There is a sandwich buried in there, but it is not itself, in my opinion, a sandwich.
So
That idea makes me not.
let's do the more realistic. This actually exists out at our state fair here in Minnesota, which is deep fried Oreos.
I
You
think
take
that
an
is
Oreo,
right.
mix it in batter, and then deep fry it.
That is an
So
amazing calzone.
in that moment, it's a calzone, but there's still the argument that there's still a sandwich on the inside of the
Yes,
calzone.
you can do that. You can do that. If we can have a Cadbury egg. That's not really
Yeah,
the inside.
That's a calzone.
No.
It's a well, that's not a calzone, there's no starch. Yeah, so yeah, I agree. They deep fried Oreo, deep fried Oreo, so here's another question.
It is a modified sandwich.
But the Snickers came up, and the Milky Way came up a minute ago about whether or not the Milky Way all by itself was a sandwich, and we said no, because no starch. But if you deep fried the Milky Way,
Would that be a calzone?
then it's a calzone
Correct.
with the Milky Way, yeah.
Who hasn't, I just want to make sure we get, in the back with the Fez hat on, the yellow paper right there has been waiting a while.
So, we've come to the point where we've determined sandwiches have to be picked up with the hands. I would like to contest some of the bread bowls as being sandwiches for picking them up with your hands. If you have soup, you can drink it out of a bread bowl, but does that really constitute a sandwich? And if you have a key lime pie, the second you start eating it out of it, assuming that it's a whole key lime pie, that is just on the floor now.
Well, right now it's being considered a quiche, both of those things, right?
Oh, well, and a bread bowl has three sides, because you have the bottom and then
Okay.
Yes,
or five sides.
Yeah, I think one of the things we should determine maybe up here is the idea, we're talking about transformation, right? All of these things that we're discussing are as they are in their whole and complete state. We understand that once they are cut into, bit into, changed, following being in the sandwich category, they may transform into something else. So in the case of the bread bowl, it is a calzone, it is a quiche, thank you. It is a quiche, but the minute you start tearing away the bread and making the mess and all of that, it becomes something else. And
The top part, I mean?
well, it often comes with the top part, but it's a separated thing, like, you know, it's a piece you take off and then you get to the middle part. So maybe when it first arrives at the table, if it comes with the top part, then it's a calzone.
Take it off.
It's a calzone if it comes with the piece of bread on top of it, but once you take that off, then it has transformed and has become quiche.
If I had a way of putting this up on the screen, I would, but I don't have that technology because I didn't have the forethought to do it. But on this website, there is a sandwich alignment chart. So I want to take a moment and walk this through so you can all determine what kind of sandwich alignment do you believe in. So, the vertical columns, there's three of them. You have an ingredient purist, and they say it must have classic sandwich toppings, meat, cheese, tomato, condiments, etc. An ingredient neutral can contain a broader scope of savory ingredients. An ingredient rebel can contain literally any food products sandwiched together. Then horizontally you have the three, which are a structure purist. A sandwich must have a classic sandwich shape, 2 pieces of bread or baked product with toppings in between. A structure neutral, which the container must be on either side of the toppings, but not necessarily 2 separate pieces. And the structure rebel, it can contain any food enveloped in any way by a containing food. So, if you are an ingredient purist and a structure purist, you are a hardline traditionalist. Does anybody identify that way? As being ingredient purist, meaning have classic sandwich toppings and 2 pieces of bread. Then you have the structure purist ingredient neutral, which is saying things like French fries in a sandwich between 2 pieces of bread would be it. I think my 2 panelists here are structural purist ingredient rebel, which means that the structure, 2 pieces of bread have to be there, 2 starches have to be there, but whatever's in the middle is up to debate so long as it's not the same thing that the top and bottom starches are.
Right, and this is why it's important to figure out what your baseline is. If your baseline is going to be starch and structure, which is what I have gone with as sandwich, that's great. If your baseline is going to be some other definition, that's great, you just need to be consistent with it.
Can I ask one more follow-up question?
No.
Too bad, I'm gonna do it anyway. Do the top and bottom starches have to be the same for it to be a sandwich?
Absolutely not.
No, they mean it.
Nope, totally different. You can have a calzone with something in the middle, an actual calzone with something in the middle, and a piece of pizza on top.
Sure.
Sandwich.
All right.
Can I bring up something else?
Yes,
on the page
please do.
also? So further down on the page, this is again the cube rule page, we have additional cube rulings. And the categories start with what is a salad, what is a cake, what is a nacho, and what is muffin. And just real quick, I'll just tell you the definition. So for them, salad, they don't even define it. They have six things that are salad. Steak, mashed potatoes, flan, turducken. That's the meat on the meat on the meat. So now we know that is actually a salad. You can put that into your little diet category.
That is a meat within a meat within a meat. It's not on.
Right, exactly. But I'm saying, when we were talking earlier about the chicken on top of the chicken on top of the chicken, without the breading, has become salad. Chocolate and soup is a salad. I don't know what the definition is here. It is not, it's just showing us a no cube with no starch around it.
No starch.
So there's no surrounding starch is the idea. Cake, on the other hand, involves layers. Lasagna is cake.
Yes.
For some reason, Big Mac is a cake.
Because there's starch
Right,
in the middle.
but that means like a club sandwich would be also.
Correct.
And flapjacks. Pancake.
Yeah.
Then we have nachos, which seems to be that you have something in, I think there's a cube on the outside, but there's a solid cube on the inside. I'm not really sure where they're going with. Poutine is a nacho. Lucky Charms is a nacho.
You're talking about croutons.
Ah, thank you. And salad is a nacho. If it has croutons. Also nachos, fried noodles, couscous, and ramen.
So this brings up, and again, I see these things, but like I just want to keep throwing some stuff
Yeah.
out there, which is a talk about, I've seen an argument that said every single food we eat is either a sandwich or a salad. There has been a lot of arguments that were made about this, so a lot of people would throw in a third one, which would say absolutely anything you eat is either a sandwich, a salad, or a soup.
Most of the salad.
Some people would argue that soup is salad.
For some
Some people
reason,
don't know that gas is also in it.
for some reason, muffins is listed as a separate thing. Muffins are a type of toast, or muffins or other blocks of starch are a type of toast in raw unsliced form. Rice, you are free to interpret the nature of rice however you wish.
Helpful.
Vanilla soy latte is listed as a 3-bean wet salad.
Correct.
And someone put on one of the social media forums we don't mention the name of anymore, that humans, as defined by noted food critic Soleil Ho, humans are just ravioli.
Oh.
With that one.
All right, Orange Star, what you got for us?
So, given these definitions, there are several things which, when stacked upon each other, no longer are in their composite forms. So, to use an example, 2 sandwiches stacked on top of each other would now constitute a cake and no longer sandwiches.
Because it's layers now, like a club sandwich or something.
Which thus indicates that you can stack 2 things on top of each other to remove their status as themselves.
The trick of transformation.
So does that mean that toast you were talking about is actually a cake?
A grilled cheese, yeah, so if you make a burger with grilled cheese as your buns, then it is a cake.
What about that, when I talk about like the toast with the bread?
Oh, toasted bread.
Well, is there something between all of the layers?
Butter, potentially?
Butter
Butter.
is a condiment, but not necessarily an ingredient? So, I mean, it is an ingredient, but does it count as a component ingredient?
It depends how
I've seen it.
I think it depends how
In cooking competition shows, they almost never count salt, pepper, oil as an
Seasonings.
ingredient, and they that's down, like you have 10 things you choose or 5, they
Yeah.
count those because they're just so ubiquitous.
Right. The thing is, if you're not using anything to divide those pieces of bread, it is not either cake or a sandwich. It's the stack of the same component, which appears to be salad.
Isn't that a cake? The flapjacks are the same thing stacked over and over?
But they're showing them, the picture they're showing has like the syrup and the butter and everything between them, so maybe.
Isn't the surface on the
But
outside?
how thick
It is
does
on
a
the
layer
outside.
of something have
It
to
could
be
be
before
between.
it's considered an ingredient?
Is the syrup an ingredient for a condom?
Is a syrup essential?
I think something that's an ingredient is something that goes into the original preparation, right?
I was gonna say, I look at it as, we put butter on bread to toast it,
Yes.
usually. Like, it's a
Yeah.
cooking ingredient versus an ingredient that's just added to the sandwich.
I mean, you could sit there and eat butter all by itself, but you're not going to,
I
right?
have.
Right, it's a preparation.
Okay, I know where I am now.
Well, then,
Outside of the convention world. Perhaps not so much. So yeah, this is a thorny test. I hope in my retirement years that I would be like the person at the old age home and people come to me for my sage wisdom on sandwich. I would like to have a sandwich. Are these ingredients permissible? And I will say yes or no.
Alright, blue pound sign over here.
So this is like a very specific situation, but usually when you eat spaghetti, you like twirl it. So if you have the spaghetti twirled on the fork and there's the sauce layers like mixed in, how would you categorize that?
I think, by the way, I'm not just going to jump in on this, but I would say that you've already picked up the sandwich, so to speak, and transformed it in the process of picking it up. Therefore, it is not in its original state. It arrived to you the way it was supposed to be, which I guess is toast. Because it's on the bottom with the meat on top, so it's technically toast.
Unless you toss the pasta after you add the sauce.
But it's not fully enclosing it, right?
Right.
Sounds like
As long as the scoop has multiple noodles, then it is cake.
No,
If you only
but that's if
do
there's
one-
layers, right?
Well, if you're twirling it, then you have layers. They're just intertwined.
Okay.
Intertwined?
Sure.
But then when you pick it up, you have now transformed it, and it's probably that the fork is skewering the meat,
Yes.
and the pasta is underneath that, possibly laying on top, which means it is either taco or toast, depending on. But what I'm saying is, once you've picked it up and transformed it, it is no longer, I think, in the sandwich category. It is now your meal.
I would agree.
Right.
And per the other definitions a while ago was you have to be able to pick it up with your hands.
Yes.
You can totally get it with your hands. I mean, kids do it all the time.
Not well, but yes.
Yes.
There's something in that.
Orange pound.
Okay, in the eyes of like a ingredient rebellious person, would a chocolate-covered Oreo be considered a calzone?
No, because it's not fully enclosed.
And the
Well,
chocolate.
It's a dip.
Oh, I
It's
see
a
what you're
chocolate
saying.
dip.
But the chocolate isn't a starch.
Right, it's a sandwich inside of
But
something.
if you're looking at it from the view of a rebellious interpretation, anything that is encased, no, would be a calzone if it's fully encased.
Oh, yeah, if you're not adhering to the starch theory.
Yeah, I mean,
Right, if you're not
definition
hearing
of
starch-
human is a calzone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you adhere to a different theory, then absolutely everything changes. 100%, yes.
Blue pound sign up here.
Okay, so you've been saying that a sandwich is anything with two sides of starch around it. My question is, do those two sides of starch have to be opposite each other for it to be a sandwich?
Well, we were talking about the cube idea. I mean, the
Yes.
way in which, yeah, I think so, but like it has to be opposing. Because if you have a sandwich that looks like this, and everything is filled in here, like, can you pick that up like you could do that and pick it up, but I don't know, like, what do you think?
Hey, once you have an angle like that,
Yeah.
a V,
Yeah,
I consider that more like a taco.
More-
More of a taco. You can technically have a sandwich that's like that,
yes.
but
But the thing is, there's not a third side to that. It is still only a two-sided
it
thing
is still only
with an
two-sided.
angle.
That
So you have not quite crossed into taco territory.
The thing about it though is that is as soon as you go to pick it up, it's gonna, unless this is a attached, and if it's attached, then it's no longer two opposite things. That I don't think this can really, I mean, it can exist in looking at it, but the second it is picked up, which is a role for it to become a sandwich, then it's gonna shift and become a sandwich.
Yeah,
That's
I
how.
think so. I mean, you know,
Physics
there are,
works.
So if these are slices of bread, and there's meat in the middle, is that still a sandwich? With 3 sides covered?
3 sides covered?
Three
No,
sides.
no, that's
Three
the,
opposing sides.
3 sides is a taco.
Three opposing
That's
sides.
not a sandwich.
Three opposing sides. not the
Topologically, the cube rule is assuming all things can be cubes.
True.
Yes.
But in that
I think if
case,
it fully surrounds, but the both of the ends are open, that makes it a sushi, does it not?
Yes.
I don't think the cube rule can account for that arrangement of 3 sides.
I think the cube rule can only define things that are structural theorists.
This is very true.
I mean, let's look at it this way. I was just thinking about this when you're talking about surrounding and size and all that. Let's pretend you have raw dough. Have not cooked it yet. It's pretty sploogey, right? Like maybe it's risen or something, but it's pretty, you know, if you took that and you decided you wanted to eat raw dough and put something on it, it doesn't have any sides, right? It's
Nope, it's toast.
curving, it's round.
If
It's
cookie
toast.
dough is
But
in
it starts to
ice cream.
surround the thing that it's in.
Topologically, it's not round,
That,
it's
what do we
cube.
think?
And we also have to consider, so we have defined the Red Bull soup
Yeah.
as something that is a round, more
Yeah.
often than not it's a bowl.
Huh?
It generally will have a rather flat bottom, but the rest of it is
It's a
not
bowl, not a bowl.
nice.
So
It's cute.
if
Why
it's
roll, why
a
roll?
suspension, where does a suspension fall in that scope?
What, with the raw dough idea?
Right, because if it's like cookie dough and ice cream, it's like suspended in it. It's surrounded by something. Is it a soup? Yeah, or is it a cake? 'Cause there's
Cookie
like-
dough ice cream?
Cookie dough ice cream is
Nachos and French fry cube roll.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the cookie dough ice cream tends, unless you've got the cookie dough surrounding the ice cream on 3 sides, then it's not a taco. It's just, it's a salad. It's a salad, actually.
Some of the nachos, because it has
Not-
little bits of sandwich inside.
Yes, but it's not surrounding anything.
That's the way it's been nacho.
nacho.
See, I was thinking that it was gonna be a soup, or I mean a salad, because we talked about, remember the croutons inside, everything else. So like, the fact that ice cream cannot be a sandwich by itself, right? Because it's not starch.
I would make the argument that I think I agree with her that it's more of a salad because it's sprinkled on top versus nachos, which is where it's like the base. It's pieces on the bottom with stuff on top of it.
And in nachos, you have it more in a mix, and it's more structured than an ingredient, whereas cookie dough ice cream, it's more
Ingredient
non.
I think nacho structures problems here. You put your stuff on the bottom of the chips.
However, I hope I'm not the only one that's alone in this. I go, well, regardless of if it's a sandwich or not, I'm kind of getting hungry. Like all this talking, especially nachos, I'm like, ooh, nachos sound really good.
What about starches with like other things interspersed throughout them? Chocolate chip, like, well,
Chocolate chip nachos?
for example.
Chocolate chip cookies, well, yeah, I would say probably toast. I mean, yes, there are probably some chips that are subsumed within the starch that you can't see, but most of them are going to be on the exposed exterior.
A frosted cookie is clearly toast,
I was going to say, because the toast has to have a top, some sort of something on top of it, correct?
but an unfrosted cookie is probably then muffin. Because it is mostly starch with some things contained within it.
Muffin says, it's a type of toast, but a muffin is a type of toast.
Okay.
In raw and unsliced form.
All right, so we're kind of getting near the end of time, and I'm not seeing any flyers up here, but we're not going to wrap up. Oh, sorry, I apologize.
So where does stuffing fall? Is that thousands of sandwiches?
Nachos.
Or is that some other category?
Nachos.
Where is stuffing and rice bowls fall?
It would be a salad, wouldn't
I
it?
think it's a salad.
I think it's nachos.
Because the stuffing itself would be croutons, right?
Yeah, but that's all starch.
But a
Yeah.
salad
It
is
contains
nachos.
no starch.
Salad is nachos.
Nachos.
But I think,
Oh, nachos, yeah.
but stuffing is moldable. I think you can mold a patty of stuffing. Put something in between it with another molded patty of stuffing. And if you could pick that up with your hands, I think you could qualify that as a sandwich.
Can't pick up
Yeah, Yep. Because you can take stuffing, put it in the waffle iron, and make it structurally
There you go.
sound,
So
and
it's
then make
not
a sandwich of it.
hierarchy, the hierarchy like categorization is what the outmost kind of form of the food is?
Yes.
I feel so, yes.
That's pretty much where I stand.
Orange chocolate.
So, heard this argument, if you're defining nachos as any amount of starch suspended in something, if there's one single piece of starch, such as if you have one crouton in a salad, is that still categorically nachos?
That is a nacho.
That's a salad, isn't it? Because it's suspended within, right? Like we saw the picture of the salad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how I separate nachos from salads, and you guys can agree to disagree, but the salads is the starch in the ingredient versus the nacho is the ingredients on top of the starch. But there's multiple starches, which is what makes it nachos and not nachos.
Yes, salad is a nacho, yes, for sure.
Something like chilaquiles probably is a better definition than nachos itself, because chilaquiles you have stuff on top of around, it's entirely surrounding, but it is still primarily starch. And I think the picture they had was a cube inside of a surrounding cube,
Yeah.
because the starch itself is not the surrounding structure, it is a component, a core
Right.
component. Is
It's
within
not
it.
enclosing anything.
Correct.
Right. Or performing the services of life.
Yes.
Green circle.
So when I was in Germany and my daughter was in Minnesota, we each put a piece of bread on the earth and took a photograph at the same time. Did we make this earth sandwich, or because you can't, like, what would eat the earth?
Yeah.
What's big enough to, like, the sun could be.
Could you pick it up with your hands?
Okay, but there would be.
Can you pick it up?
Wait, there would
With
be.
two people, one hand on each slice of bread, hey.
I can guarantee you there's at least one starch in between you two, it's at least a cake.
So I'm saying though too is that's going back to this
Oh,
versus
that,
this.
yeah.
Like Germany in relation to the United States is probably more like this versus.
Yeah, you have to be like
Angle matters.
opposite sides of the earth.
We were
And
talking
then you
about
have to be able to pick up the
Earth taco. Earth
Just
taco,
make
but
it
they
a
weren't
taco.
touching. It wasn't like a crunchy hard shell taco. Continuous. They were separate pieces. So it's like two nacho pieces, like.
I would say, given the amount of pieces of starch on the earth, it would probably count as something like nachos.
I think it's a thought experiment only because one cannot pick it up and one cannot consume. Like if I took a piece of wood and another piece of wood and put them in the middle, like we might be able to pick it up, but we can't eat it.
Sandwich.
So I
But a
think
beaver
that,
could eat it.
sorry?
But a beaver could eat it, so they could eat it.
Beavers have their own definition of these things.
We're not gonna start on beaver sandwich definitions. Like,
Beaver tube rule is not for this, not for the daytime.
I feel like that's kind of a good spot to wrap this up. How do you feel?
Very good. I love this.
This is fantastic. You are a great audience. Thank you for your input, for your questions, for your